Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. It's Friday, October 4th, 2024, and these are your Unbiased Updates. Thousands of dock workers are returning to their jobs after a tentative agreement to raise their pay. For now, the strike is over. We have details on the key issues and what happens from here. And why, after more than 3 decades in prison, the Menendez brothers, infamous for killing their parents, might have their case reviewed, and the factor it all hinges on.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's Unbiased Updates.
Crisis averted for now. Tens of thousands of U.S. dock workers are getting back on the job after 2 days of a strike that clogged dozens of East and Gulf Coast ports. The historic labor action, which threatened to drive inflation back up, is now on hold until at least January 15th, after members of the International Longshoremen's Association struck a tentative deal with the U.S. Maritime Alliance over pay. The agreement will increase workers' wages by 62% over the span of 6 years, an increase over the Maritime Alliance's offer of 50% earlier in the week, but a compromise for the ILA, which has called for a 77% increase in wages over the same time period. The new deal would bring hourly pay for top dock workers to $63 per hour by the end of the deal, compared to $39 an hour under the most recent expired contract. The ILA also compromised on its other big sticking point, automation. Dock workers had been calling for a total ban on automation. Sources close to the matter have said that will be the main topic of negotiations between now and January 15th. Across the world, powerful blasts rocked Beirut overnight as Israel unleashed some of its heaviest strikes on the Lebanese capital city yet. This comes as Iran's foreign minister is in Beirut, meeting with Lebanese officials over the expanding conflict between Israel and Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah. On Thursday, Israel ordered more evacuations for villages in southern Lebanon, which could signal plans to broaden the ground invasion there. Meantime, Lebanon's state-run news agency says an Israeli strike took out the main highway between Lebanon and Syria, which tens of thousands of people have used over the past 2 weeks to flee the escalating fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. And the Israeli military says it killed another top Hezbollah militant, Mohammed Anisi, in a recent strike on Beirut. Hezbollah has not yet confirmed that claim. A federal jury convicted 3 former Memphis police officers on Thursday in the 2023 beating death of Tyree Nichols, but they were acquitted of the most serious charges. The jury found Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith guilty of witness tampering for covering up the attack. Haley was also convicted of violating Nichols' civil rights. Nichols died 3 days after the officers brutally beat him following a traffic stop. The officers now face up to 20 years in prison for the witness tampering convictions, while Haley's civil rights violation conviction carries up to 10 years. Sentencing is pending, with the hearing scheduled to determine whether they will remain in custody. The case has triggered federal investigations into Memphis police practices, and Nichols' family has filed a $550 million lawsuit against the city and its police department. In a statement, the assistant U.S. attorney who oversees the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division said Tyree Nichols should be alive today. Out west, Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon announced his office will now review the convictions of Eric and Lyall Menendez nearly 35 years after they were imprisoned for killing their parents in 1989. New evidence, including a letter from Eric Menendez alleging sexual abuse by their father, prompted the re-examination. Gascon stressed that while the brothers' guilt is not being contested, the new evidence and changing views on sexual abuse require a review. The attorney for the Menendez brothers argues they've been rehabilitated, and he's seeking a resentencing. A hearing on November 29th will determine the next steps, which could include a new trial or an adjusted sentence. A former employee has come forward accusing country music superstar Garth Brooks of sexual assault and battery. In the lawsuit, the woman says she worked as his hair and makeup artist. The lawsuit alleges in 2019, Brooks raped the woman during a work trip to Los Angeles. Before this lawsuit was made public, CNN reported an anonymous celebrity plaintiff, now identified as Brooks, had tried to block the woman from suing and denied the claims. In a statement released to the media, Brooks said, quote, For the last 2 months, I have been hassled to no end with threats, lies, and tragic tales of what my future would be if I did not write a check for many millions of dollars. He called it hush money and said he would not pay it, saying he wouldn't admit to behavior he's, quote, incapable of. Hurricane Kirk, a powerful Category 4 storm, is now churning in the Atlantic, with forecasters warning of dangerous swells that could impact the U.S. East Coast, Bermuda, the Greater Antilles, and the Bahamas by the weekend. Though the hurricane is expected to remain far from land, its waves might cause life-threatening surf and rip currents. Meantime, the Southeast is still reeling from Hurricane Helene, which left more than 200 people dead and caused catastrophic damage. Rescue efforts continue as many residents remain without water, power, and communication services. President Biden has visited the region to survey the devastation, pledging federal aid for debris removal and recovery efforts in Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Those are your unbiased updates for this Friday. We'll see you back here on Monday. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great Friday and a fabulous weekend.